Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Basting. Joining me is co-host Jason Juggling J. Ford. And Jason, this evening we're hoping that the Minister of Sport will be able to join us at some point in time through the night. Earlier today, the Ministry of Youth, Sport, and Recreation released a press release stating they are currently accepting applications for the High Performance Sponsorship Program. And the reason why we want to speak with the minister because we want to get some more information regarding the High Performance Sponsorship Program. It states in the press release applications for the High Performance Sponsorship Program will be open until June 30th, 2023, for those who meet the criteria. Number one, the aim of the sponsorship is as follows: to recognize Bermuda athletes who clearly demonstrate the commitment and performance as a high-performing athlete, to provide financial assistance for a Bermudian athlete or athletes who have consistently demonstrated a clear indication of high performance in his or hers respective sport, and to support and provide funding for a Bermudian athlete. Now, and this is what I wanted to clear up. Is it for a Bermudian athlete or Bermudian athletes? Because they have the letter A in there to reach elite standards and represent Bermuda in major international events. So currently we see the government supporting athletes in sport. I would say putting their money where their mouth is. But we need to get that, some of the stuff that is out there cleared up, so that people know, what they're signing up for. Is it just one? Is it multiple? What if they can give us some indication on, just how this whole program is going to work. We do have the National Junior Sponsorship Award, which actually will get handed out on Friday evening. They switched it from a luncheon to a dinner event to highlight our young people, and the funds that will be given to them in assistance towards training, equipment, all sorts of things, as well as extra coaching, and the like. So we look forward to that announcement on Friday, following the program. But Jay, we've seen quite a bit of sports going on. We went through that wave of nothing going on. We heard the grasshoppers and the frogs and all of that. But now that you see sports back and you see everybody kind of right back in action, what does that say about the resilience of sport in general?
Well, first of all, good evening to everybody. I, I've been telling you, for years, sports and even arts, remember, it resonates so much with people, right? When it comes to life, we always hear about sports, always teaches life lessons and stuff of that nature. Adversity, overcoming adversity in the game. Well, that's life, and now you see people's off the field life being changed because that's what really happened off the field. Our
Mm,
life got turned upside down. Even though we were still having some sports being played on the field or being played, it was off the field that a lot of things were taken, being disrupted. Now we've
mm,
gotten back to where now teams can actually train like they want to train and have the facilities like they want to have the facilities. Remember, once upon a time, any X amount of people could train here, or they didn't have to switch days and alternate. We had so much stuff going on, but now to see that everybody coming back, but not only that, you see the other part of sport that there's on the field, then there's off the field. And I talk about off the field a lot because the camaraderie that you get in sports, especially team sports, right? But we've also seen the same camaraderie even with independent sports. When we look at go karting, we saw the camaraderie over that whole weekend, what those guys done for everybody who was involved, right? We
mm,
used to with karters before, like, yeah, I might be racing, but if that other driver needs parts and this, that, and the other, we're all willing to chip in. We hear that when it comes to Ron Allen boat race. Guys are working on everybody's engines that whole week, right? So it's nice that that's what sports does, right? Even track and field. We did the Bermuda School Sports Federation, the championships, but for me, I hadn't been up there so long to see what we used to call inter-school sports, right? I used to remember the bank, right? That was my bank, right? But to see all the schools and gym teachers and kids, man, just screaming for not only their colleagues but also probably some of the family too, right? And it's that is what. Remember, at one point in time we had nobody in the stands. So to hear their screams and shouts and to see the young kids up there, the young families, and I'm glad we're where we are. I'm really glad.
Yeah. Well, let's go back a little bit. We've seen the end of the Bermuda Football Association's league season, with PHC being crowned the Premier Division champions. Paget Lions won the first division. Both teams were able to do a double. But that elusive triple was not on the cards for PHC, nor, for that matter of fact, because Paget lost in the semifinals of the FA. So, but now everybody has to turn their attention to next season. When we're going to stay with football for now, turn their attention to next season. We know that Young Men's Social Club and Paget have come up. Now they have to do a lot of homework. And when I say homework, they have to know what their team needs if they are looking to survive the first season up there. And they're going to need strategic players to help balance out their squad. Paget, before the season started, when everybody saw the list of players that they had coming in, everyone thought they would run away with the title. Unfortunately, they didn't run away with the title, but they claimed the title, which was the business that they wanted to do anyway. And one of the things that was indicated all season was they kept giving up goals. So next season they'll have to address that without a doubt, because the slightest bit of errors in the Premier Division, some of those things don't go unnoticed, and teams will bury you very, very fast.
Right. It was so funny you said that. I spoke with one of those promoted clubs, coach, not too long ago, and we had that exact same conversation, right? How do you balance with the players that got you here and also introduce new players? You mentioned, you said strategically, okay, yeah, we might tactically, that might be the person that we need. But as we know, some of these players might not fit the culture of the team.
Yeah. They bring a suitcase, not baggage no more. They bring a suitcase.
So it's also that balance, because now, if you, as you know, you're coming for a weaker team for the most part, right? Your first 3 games it's valuable, because all that preseason during the summer and the good vibes, you don't get a win in the first 3-4 games. Then everybody starts looking at each other. Okay, why did he come? And why is all those type of questions, right?
Right.
So tactically, we had the conversation. Says, look, I want 3 players, spine, right? Which that's the way to build any team, right? Goalkeeper, center half, center midfield, center forward, right? And then you work around that. But once again, where does that leave the particular teams that we're talking about? Right. And I'm pretty sure Antoine, that we looking at somebody like Paget, I'm pretty sure Antoine don't want to play as much as he does. And he is to chase these young boys around. I've heard him even say that. But then you got likes of Dion Stubble too. It's not gonna be one to chase anybody around. But once again, it's when you're looking at those 2 teams in particular, is having the right players. And that's the balance that the coaching staff and the players too.
Yeah. Well, what's funny? A lot of times a player will be influenced by some fans to come on board. Not necessarily who the coach really wants, but all of a sudden he signed up, and now as a coach, you got to deal with it.
Yeah, but so I'll give you another example. We was up at the Jason Reyna and Smoky cricket tournament. Mm-hmm. And obviously, that was the week before cricket starting, so there was to start off, a little fun cricket. Mm-hmm. But just listening to players, fans, hearing some of the guys who have moved on to another team. Mm-hmm. Then they start telling how much money that person got, how much money that person got. Yeah. So now you're saying, okay, now it's expectations now. So once again, we always talk about how do we manage expectations, right? Let's take, for instance, if a player's coming in who's been given a little salary, get a little something in the pocket.
They call it incentive.
Whatever you want to call it, motivation. I don't care what you right? But how does that player act? Number one, knowing that somebody's paying you now. Mm. And everybody's got their eyes on you because, one thing about sports, it can humble you, right? So for the sake of argument, let's use cricket for example. Somebody's gave you a chunk of change and you start off to bet to make runs and you start off with $3.
Yeah.
Can you ask for the money back?
No, because you gave it. And there's things happen in the sport.
but my point is the fans and players are darn forgiving, right? Even players in the locker room, they might smile on one side, but like, why him? How he get that? He didn't give me, So, but once again, that's the reality with amateur sports we have here on the island, and those are the things that this cricket season. Because we had a good bit of movement around this cricket season, and you're going to get coming up. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be quite a bit of movement going on in the next football season.
Yeah, I mean, last year we're going every year we go over 100 transfers, and sometimes for a small island like this, come on, man.
But it's
100 guys, 100 plus guys.
That horse has been left the stadium.
I know.
Where you're thinking from is the 70s, right? The 70s and 80s, right? When we came up with a club and we want to do all we can for one particular club, right?
Yeah, you're loyal to that club. Yeah.
And it's not. There's some owners on the clubs too, right?
Yes.
There's some owners on the clubs too, because I stated this here to a few club presidents. Some of the things that incentives, especially for young people, was trips.
Yeah.
And yes, it takes some fundraising. Yes, it takes some sponsorship and things of that nature. But the camaraderie that you got on those trips, you didn't go on a trip and leave the next year.
Right.
Yeah. Most times you hey, when's the next one? So because we had so much fun, can we do this again next year?
Right.
So and we know those things cost money now, because I mean, I'd even look at even my world, the entertainment world. Once upon a time, when we had an international team come to the island, for the most part, those players stayed with local players.
Yeah.
So now it's a little bit different.
A lot bit different.
Yeah.
But we're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with this IslandStats.com sports show. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Vi Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Vi delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Vi are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Welcome back. Well, Jay, let's just continue that conversation about cricket because we're into the cricket season. The first division will get underway this weekend. We've had 2 rounds of the Premier Division, and you indicated there was some household changes in teams. Cleveland have benefited very strongly with some very talented players going back to the club. The other clubs we're looking forward to seeing how the season materialize, especially the match on Sunday between Warwick and Western Stars.
Nice.
For those 2 teams starting off with losses, it was a must-win situation for both of them. You don't want to go 0-2 and you only got 5 games left.
Well, first thing, let me go off script for that game, right? Like football, I think these teams need to get together and pick out a jersey. They don't conflict with the other team. Because if you went across the field, all you saw was red, and everything was red and more red up at Rangers, right?
Right.
You had to find a little strip of green in there somewhere. Okay,
that was the week before. It was Warwick and Bailey's Bay. So I couldn't tell who was betting.
I went down Seabreeze and saw that too. I'm like, okay, it took me a while. Okay, who's betting?
Right? Under the helmet, everybody looks the same,
So yes, but no, you absolutely you said it right, and that's and for different reasons. I think I haven't spoken with anybody from Cleveland, but for me, it feels more of a lot of focus is going to be for the Eastern County.
And they'll want to win the league as well.
Well, put it this way, I'll tell you this: if they win the league, they will be a good nick, because what round of Eastern County do they play this year?
Are they in the first round?
Final round.
Final round, okay.
So, if they are winning the league, that would mean they'll be in good nick, right?
Yeah.
Also, if they're winning the league, that would mean the other teams in Eastern County will not be winning the league. And we know once they are not winning the league, and once they're out of county, it's
right.
You know what happens with that, right?
Yeah.
So when I looked at the schedule, I looked at the Eastern County rounds. You have St. Davis playing the first round.
Right.
Followed by Flats, followed by Cleveland. It's going to be imperative for St. Davis to even get off on a good start.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing the team lineups, and it's going to be first rounds can come sooner than you think, right?
Yeah. So, right upon you.
So right upon you. When you got George O'Brien, Rick Keeping, and maybe to save yourself also, right? But to see something,
you can't save yourself wicket keeping, boys, and you know that.
But I know that. But what I'm saying, do you also see? I don't think I've seen Dean's name. Dean, Simons. Dean. Dean
Simons. I think he had to work.
Right.
Ricardo had to work.
Right.
They had some guys out
So
working.
be interesting. It'd be interesting. Mind the last few years in Canada, they've called on some of the guys from St. George's, whether it be Mackay, no, did Onias Runde,
Runde.
and can't remember somebody else. But in saying that, for a lot of these guys, it's three things: it's league, county, cup match.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say this because I'm privy to some information, but I gotta confirm. Nobody wants to confirm the information. I keep telling people, listen, eventually it's gonna come out, so you might as well just come out and say it. But we're out of Cleveland play this weekend. They're due to play on Saturday, but I'm not sure if they're gonna move. Well, the game was scheduled for the National Sports Center, and as we know, it's Relay for Life. So they won't be playing at the National Sports Center. However, if their game is rescheduled to somewhere else, go and take a peek at who is coaching the team.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Earl. I'm not. I've got my idea. I've got my little bird is a chirping too.
Yes.
Personally, that team is it's a lot of veteran leaders there, right?
Yeah.
My only is how do you still keep your young people involved?
And that's where the coaching comes in.
So that's
watching St. David's and St. George's play last weekend. It was difficult to figure out who was the captain on the field because the senior players, every one of them was given different instructions.
Well,
I'm like, you know what?
Well, I decided to you probably get the exact same thing as the Cleveland game coming up, right?
Yeah. And then, but this is the thing. When it's not going right,
well, this is what I keep
who
getting.
then holds it together?
And not only that, right? Remember, with all these players who are returning, the expectations, right?
Oh yeah, much higher now.
It is the expectations, right? So it will be interesting, and you will see who's put work in the preseason. Right? And one thing, sports is unforgiving. You can't cheat. You can't cheat the game. The game will expose you, right?
It exposes you. Yeah.
You might get lucky, but for the most part, to be consistent, you got to put the work in. So, and then we're still talking right now. We're still talking cool temperatures.
Yeah.
The sun goes behind the cloud a bit. It's still a little breezy. Right?
But it's so funny, Jay. Remember back in the day, what was in your bag? You always had a sweater, didn't you?
Let me tell you something. It's amazing because before we played, I used to always wonder. Remember, our shots were thin, and our pants.
Yeah.
Right. And I always used to wonder why guys wore sweaters. And one of my mentors back then, well, two, it was Lloyd James and Colin Blades. And Uncle Colin wore. I think he never wore a short sleeve. He always wore a long sleeve and a sweater and a helmet.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's got to be hot under there, right? And he used to have the plastic guards, right? So, like, man, it's got to be hot under there, right? But then after speaking and playing and watching these guys are coming up, I wonder, I found out why. Because what happens for me personally, I used to always love to get a good warm up, a good sweat. What happens? You cool down.
Yes.
That sweaters to actually keep you warm.
Yeah.
And as much as everybody says, man, you'd be surprised, like come 4 o'clock after, you're probably sweated twice. Like you can start shivering.
Yeah.
On the field, right? Especially places like Bay and a lot of places that are open, right? That wind comes out of the wrong way, you can start shivering, right?
Yeah.
And but it's amazing. It's amazing. A lot of the jerseys now, because them is like a jersey now, a dry fit. So you don't it doesn't even hold sweater stuff anymore. So I don't know how much that plays into how we used to wear sweaters, because nobody wears a sweater now.
Right. It was funny because you would even see the opening bowlers wear sweaters, and the only reason, and you've indicated that that's why Colin would do it. It's that after they're over, they put the sweater on to keep that body, especially their upper body,
Mhm.
warm for their next over.
Yeah.
Because you go out on the boundary and no ball comes down to you, man, and there's a breeze, oh boy, you struggle your next over because your body has now cooled down way too much to allow you to come steaming back in.
And in saying that, you remember a lot of the older players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes I had two sweaters. We had a field
Yeah.
sweater and a batting sweater, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because one may have been short sleeve, the other one may have been long sleeve, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Because and the older you get, as you know, you got to get the burns good a little. You got to grease them.
Hey, a little bit of lemon and a lot of clothing.
and it's amazing because you're young. I'm young. I'm 14, and these guys,
Right.
that's seasoned, right?
Right.
And I used to cheat because I used to get the icy hot and just rub on the main muscles. So because I thought I had to put something on because everybody else is stinking, right?
Right.
The horse limit, I weren't in that one. That was too much fire, buddy.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. Hey.
I used to put it on, rub it on the main muscles, then go.
Mhm.
Like you can't sit
Yeah.
around. Like you gotta go.
Yeah. The minute you put it on,
Yeah.
be ready to run out that door.
Yeah, but it's amazing to see how some of these guys prepare themselves now.
Yeah.
I had a chance to talk with some of the players also, and just talking about pricing with some of the equipment nowadays. Like,
Yeah. Outrageous now.
woof.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I got
But I mean, you see what some of these guys are doing, but they do connect with the bat.
Oh yeah.
Like I've seen some big sixes in my time, but
Mhm.
normally they're from big burly guys, right?
Right.
Al
Right.
James and Jeffrey Pitcher.
Mhm.
Uncle Cullen used to do one-handers with Rangers Club, and
Right.
but I'm watching this guys check a ball and it's up on the bank.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not even follow through. It's like check
Right.
and it's up on the bank already. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is that?
That's a juiced up bet.
Yeah.
But also for the board's sake, they're got the eye on September, October, because we have that one shot qualifier. That tournament we'll be hosting, and the winner goes to the World Cup. So we have that. They're looking to make sure that a lot of cricket is played as much as possible. We're starting off at the 50 overs, and then we move to the T20, and that's strategically done because the tournament for the World Cup is the T20. But I had an opportunity to go by the stadium where Coach Narine has players coming in on, I believe it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they do fitness tests and so forth, and then they do some batting and bowling, in the nets in the middle and so forth. But just to see, the players making themselves available for the national team, and I think that because of the success they had in Argentina, and everybody was able to get a glimpse of it, I think it's brought back a lot of people to believe that there's an opportunity for Bermuda to make it to another World Cup.
Well, I think actually not even just the last tour. I think the last 3 tours has really been a turnaround for a lot of the players, right? Whereas starting to believe, and then it seems like these things are just falling in our lap, right? These opportunities, and we see that in both sports, right?
Right.
Both our national sports, football is a lot more opportunity within this next. Well, prior to COVID, and then obviously coming out of COVID, right? The different, whether it's the Nations League or Gold Cup, whatever. But we see all these different opportunities, the World Cup qualifiers and the whole nine. But what the main thing is, and we talk about this even people, especially like track and field. How do we manage those players through a season?
Yeah.
We have to be at the tip shape at the end of our season. This has been strange because a lot of times we're out of season going into a tournament, and so it's harder to get guys up to a level where we're not playing at all. This is where we're actually playing through our summer, but we want them to be fresh. And I think having the data now to the information that you can get now with coaches and the trainers and all that, trying to see where the players can have their optimal best, whether it's through diet, whether it's through training.
Right.
Now it's the perfect time to get all the information in, because they're going to need it. Because one thing I think, and even for as fans, we don't realize it, but when you're used to playing once a week, then all of a sudden it's 3 games in 7 days, 3 games in 8 days.
Yeah.
In a high pressured situation.
Yeah. I just took a quick glimpse of if Bermuda qualify for the World Cup for next year. The World Cup's in June. What do clubs do then? Because obviously, clearly, their better players will be, hopefully representing the country.
And realistically, we're probably going to be 3 to 4 weeks in.
Yeah.
So,
but that team, if they do qualify, I'm hoping that it's pretty much how we done the last one when we qualified, that the players kind of get reeled in, because the work that's needed, we've been through that before, and we saw the results of it. You need that dedication. You need that commitment. You need that you need those players with you a lot longer than on a part-time basis.
Well, and that's it, right? And I think the whole world knows, what our weaknesses are, right? And strengths, right? Because one thing, and we'll talk about the streaming later, right? In all these sports, and that's something I do want to bring up. But now there is footage of us, football and cricket, right? And so the world knows our weaknesses, right? And when we talk about cricket,
you can't surprise them no more.
Can't surprise them no more, right? Yeah, so obviously they know we're susceptible to spin bowling. The world knows that, right? Also, fitness, right?
Yeah.
And these are things that we can, the fitness side, we can correct. We can do that. And if you look at the success of, let's take for instance, teams like Afghanistan to get to that test status, right? How did they get there? They got there by fielding. Not explosive batsmen, not fast bowlers, but fielding, right? And that's time, commitment, effort.
Yeah.
Those are things that you can literally control. Until, obviously, once in a lifetime, you get the generic Tuckers who's just challenged way beyond his years, right? But these players don't come around that often, right?
No.
So we gotta those things that we're talking about, we have to have that commitment. And hopefully the guys who are there right now, who are putting in that time, get the tools and the resources and the support. Because what I continuously used to see is that once they come back off a tour, the motivation goes.
Yes.
And you said it, right? If we are successful, hope to be, then, I mean, it's a bigger challenge now, because we'll be playing against tougher teams, right?
Right.
So I hate to say this to them, but say it face, we got to play up above our socks, right?
Yeah.
And we saw that happen with our successful World Cup team.
Yeah.
They pushed well above their weight. So it can't. But remember, they were together for what, 6-7 months, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe even a little longer.
Right?
They were together for a long time.
And we haven't seen our teams be together like that since.
Yeah. Well, that Nation League team were together. They were together about 2 months.
2 months.
What
I'm talking, 2 and 6 is totally different, Earl.
Oh yeah, totally different. But look what they were able to achieve spending that time together. Building those relationships, building that understanding, knowing what your fellow players are going to do, on and off the field. Those type of things that builds, for us as a small country, we need that.
Yeah.
We need that.
The benefit of that year, I think, and if I was correct, we were out of season for the
Was
most
it
part.
Nations Cup?
Yeah, because remember,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you had the
That happened in the
availability.
summer.
You had the
Right.
availability of your best players, right?
Yes.
Whereas if you're in season, how do you? We saw
Manage
that. We
that.
saw that. We
Yeah.
saw that happen a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah.
If guys are fighting for their livelihoods,
Mm-hmm.
it's a hard decision, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the 26th of May, Bermuda Day Half Marathon. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. Well, Jay, some 15 days from now, the streets will be lined from St. George all the way to Dutton Avenue for the 2023 running of the Bermuda Day Half Marathon Derby. Something I think a lot of people look forward to every year. You pencil in every year. It's cup match.
Hold on, back up. People have already started putting tape on the sidewalk last week.
2 weeks ago, I saw tape outside Butterfield Bank, and I'm like, you've got to be joking me. You've got to be joking.
You can't say the penciled it in anymore, mate.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's now in ink and in tape on the ground. But as I said to someone just yesterday, be prepared because it happens every year. The corporation go run and they pull it up. But there's an opportunity.
This is my family spot, right?
Oh, trust me, yeah. But again, I've been saying this for years. There's an opportunity for the corporation to make $10.
Okay.
Sell a spot.
You ain't lying. Anywhere else would they find of me?
Yeah, boy, the money that would come in for you, and people will be there. It's just like the Department of Youth, Sport, and Recreation camping.
Mm-hmm.
Camping opens up the first Monday of every year, and that line outside that office at 9 o'clock.
Have you ever seen the line when they go for the spots for Eastern County? Have you ever seen the line?
Oh yeah.
They have it at Bailey's Bay Club.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, I went there to do some filming that day, and people have told me they were in line from 5 o'clock in the morning going towards Coney Island.
Yep. Sure. Yeah.
So,
Right.
and I laughed because they were complaining, oh, the prices are going, but guess what? They were in line,
Yeah,
right?
because I'm not missing it.
I'm not business. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting this year because, and it's coming out of St. George's.
Yes.
Keep paying, keep an eye out because this is when we really start, paying attention to runners and races and results and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm glad I'll be back. I don't see the avenue, so I'll get to see him live in color. But for me, I think this probably be the first year that I'm probably more excited about the cycling because it's probably and I say our top international riders who ride internationally, depending on who comes back,
Mm-hmm.
it's always and it's a short race, so it's a lot of guys. It pulls the rest of the pack in, right?
Yes.
I think that's more of who's a pick 'em to who's to win it. Whereas on the running side, look, I've always said like this: to beat the man, you got to beat the man.
Mm.
And I've seen this man barely run a race leading up to May 24th, and after mile 3, mile 4, he's running by himself.
Mm. Well, let's get the 24th out of your head. It's the 26th this year.
Hey, it's so crazy because we had a conversation, a meeting the other day. It's like it's gonna take a while for us to say Bermuda Day, just Bermuda Day, right?
Yeah.
We was around BPSU having this conversation, talking about the scaffold. It says everything was May 24th. It's like what day is it on?
Yeah, well, May 24th is only Wednesday. You could be out there only Wednesday.
Maybe I gotta figure out what day it is, man. This is I'm not. I can't. So for me, I don't care if it's on the 26, 27, 28. For me, in my mind, it's May 24th. Okay, and that's what it is. May 24th day. I'm pretty sure I'm not alone with this one.
Oh, no, you're not alone. A lot of people are saying that. Because they're so used to. That's what we were brought up on.
Yeah,
that's what we were brought up on.
It's gonna take a while. And what happens? The young kids they will adjust to a lot quicker than us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they pass it on to their kids. So it's something to get used to. But I think
that junior race should be very interesting as well.
Well, that's another race too, right? And even for the runners too, right?
Yeah. What's that?
Even for the runners too, with the youngsters. Because what I saw,
that's what I'm talking about—the junior running race. Yeah.
Yeah, because what I saw up at National Stadium, I'm like, a few of those names, I'm like, okay, they could be track or road. They are strong. Mm-hmm. They are strong.
Yeah. We will see people challenging themselves because a lot of people enter the half marathon for self-commitment.
Yeah.
Beat a time, beat somebody that they challenged. The small things. Everyone knows who breaks the tape, the first male, the first female. They all know that. There's other people that
500-600.
Yeah, that are in the race for personal reasons, or they lost a bet, or they're trying to beat a bet, So, it's fun to watch those people out there, especially when they cross the line. Man, it always sounded like a good idea yesterday to run the race. And then you go across that finish line, and it was funny, Jay, because Sunday I saw so many people who had walked, whether it be middle to end or end to end. I said, hey, sounded like a good idea on Friday, didn't it? One guy told me, if somebody says to me, let's walk middle to end again next year, I'm getting that skate. He was walking, his feet was hurting him.
But you know what? Us Bermudians, we have to look good at doing what we do, right?
Oh, yeah.
We'll get that nice outfit. There you go. That nice outfit, that nice brand new pair of shoes, the matching shoes.
The bunions are burning. By the time you get to Southampton.
Okay, I'm gonna ride. Okay, you're gonna ride. How far? How long? What? Okay. How you feel the next day?
Sure. Then get up, Doc. You gotta ride back.
No, you know what? Leave that thing right there. Taxi. I'll come get you, man. I need you. But no, it's and also let's even even with the Comet race coming up shortly too, right?
Mhm.
I happened to be at West End Sailboat Club the other day and going to some of the sailors, and you see these guys, they're always like, this is their season, right?
Mhm.
Like it's amazing when you see guys out of season and you see
Right.
guys in the beginning of a season, like in any sport, like the eyes open up to talk about this sport
Yeah.
and things they want to achieve, and it's even that,
Well,
yeah.
let me just say the Edward Cross long distance race will probably have its biggest fleet in a number of years. There'll probably be about 31 to 35 boats
Yeah.
in that race, because we're hosting the internationals
Yep.
that week.
Yep.
And we will have a container of, I believe, 20 boats coming in to take part in the internationals, and they're already signed up for the Edward Cross long distance race.
So I've learned about this obviously the last couple of times I've been up to West End Sailboat Club to DJ. Look, we need you for this week. I'm like, what week? And I'm thinking the race. Okay, well, no, Jay, for the week. They're here for the week.
Yeah, and West End's hosting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a we're in talks, but I definitely want to see how, because we've heard so many times from international sailors, it's such a picturesque, that great sun and sailing and a nice beautiful day out there, man. It's
Right.
You can't get it anywhere else in the world, right?
Yeah. Well, let's take another commercial break. I'm still hoping that the minister is able to join us. If not, we'll have to get him another time. But we'll be back with more of the IslandStats.com Sports Show. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
Welcome back. Jay, we know when we're able to watch a lot of international sports. And one of the things is the availability of having either watched online or watched on television through, whatever. But let's talk a little bit about how Bermuda can open itself up to, having more coverage, having more people view it outside of the country.
Yeah, I believe obviously it's a great thing, obviously, for any exposure for any sport. But I always quick to remind people the word exposure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It goes two ways,
Yes. Good and bad.
good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to have, just like in schools and especially young people now, we're having these conversations about the bad things of social media, the bad things of
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. You hear now where some countries and places are trying to ban TikTok and these things, right? Obviously, there's some good things that can go with TikTok, but also the bad things, the reality of it. I
Right.
think we really need, and I don't know if that's happening in the clubs yet, but I know for the most part, a lot of our clubs don't really have this on the radar. We need to talk about behaviors
Mm-hmm.
to streaming. And I say that because I've seen, especially over the COVID period, when the platforms like Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and these, a lot of these streaming platforms really became popular.
Mm-hmm.
I saw everybody just putting the camera up, putting a phone up somewhere. And then they realized language around the field.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that underscores, oh, I'm filming. Well, you can da 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 da.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you hear the language that's on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You hear the language with young people around. You see, and I say that look what happened with the EPL game the other day with the coach from Liverpool and the
Mm-hmm.
fourth official, right?
Right.
So it captures everything now. Now, in a professional sport, they can suspend you, they can fine you, can do all
Right.
these things,
Right.
right?
Right.
In amateur sports, there's no fines.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell you stay home, but for the most part, if that person's already checked out, they don't care.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
really don't care, right? So I think we need to have these type of conversations before we start jumping into that pool, because once you get in that pool, you'll have to take whatever sharks that come about. And I say that because it's none of our fields infrastructure can allow a plug and play, as we will say.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around too many fields, I've been around.
Yeah.
And the investment that's going to take,
Mm-hmm.
anybody sponsoring or anybody putting up that money, they're always looking to get their investment back. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What can slow up that process? The
Their
actual
behavior. Mm-hmm. Rather be on or off the field.
on or off, because guess what? Now sponsors do want to be a part of
Right.
that.
But this is where, and I'm glad you brought it up. This is where we have people in the field, and then you have the social media platform people. And when I say the social media platform people, they're the ones who love the camera on themselves. And you have so many people in the media that love to have themselves on camera, regardless of what's going on. If they could put themselves on a camera in the football game, running on the field, they'll do that. But in all honesty, it's the responsibility of the person that's filming to decide whether or not, especially when it comes to the media side, what do we show, what don't we show? You have to be responsible in that regard. Now, those people who have a cell phone and just take it out when they quote unquote see a fight, you see that at the bus terminal, you see that in Tom, if kids, school kids, you see it all over the place. How do you control that part? But it could be controlled by the media side, because I know when we started showing, we used to blur a lot of stuff out as the media. You'll see there's something going on there, but you blur a lot of that stuff out. When it came to especially school kids and so forth, sports not so much, but yeah, it's gonna take some collaboration, some understanding, some cooperation.
Well, just all of that above, but guess what? It's going to take some legislation.
Well, that too, yeah.
Because there's got to be some accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, there's none.
Yeah.
Right? And you mentioned it because when you're looking at television broadcast before streaming, so-called, right? Maybe most of those people that were involved in that were educated in the field.
Yes.
So you mentioned that, right? So I'll give a prime example. When we commentate a game, right? Especially in Americans, well, American and English, you don't see the streakers, do you?
No, they don't show that.
And there's streakers almost every game, you know.
Yeah, but they don't show that.
Unless you go to a foreign game, like you don't understand, it's a streak almost every event. The bigger the event, the more of a chance a streak is gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
And
even if you have, because I noticed, even the U.S. Open or major tennis event, you'll always have somebody in the crowd heckling. So what they do, they turn off the microphones around the court until the authorities have addressed that individual.
Yeah.
Got them out of the stadium, and then they turn them back on. They're not giving you the satisfaction of ruining an event.
I can give you a personal one where we did cup match. Had to be, so what, this is 23? Was that 19? I think it was 19. At the end of the game, there's a discrepancy if the ball went to the boundary, the game was over or not. And remember, everybody ran onto the field. And then there was a lot of arguing and some misbehavior on the field. And all we kept shouting, go to commercial. Because until we get some type of normalcy what's going on out there, these images are not going to look right.
No.
Especially for this particular game.
Right.
And matter of fact, any game, right? Because you got people watching, right?
Yeah.
But with the viewership of cup match, it's like go to commercial. I don't care if we play 10 minutes worth of commercials or come back to us at the booth. Do not show me pictures of this field because of certain things that were being, and the heat of the moment and just different things that were going on. I remember the Justin Pitcher situation, right? So, but I'm just using that as an example. But once again, we're talking about people who are in the industry who can take those orders and say, okay, you know what? Let's do this. We're talking about personal people streaming on their personal accounts. You don't have that safeguard.
Yeah.
And
people love madness because that's what they live for.
Well, I hate to say you got a couple of lists on Facebook that if you pay attention to, that's what it is on a daily basis. Madness, right? But you say that, Earl, it's amazing because what I'm saying is that the pros of the streaming, right, which we've seen already happen before, we're getting players being given opportunities to travel, to get scholarships, to get contracts.
Yeah.
Based off a game that was streamed, based off an event that was streamed. Prime example, Sean Goodell got picked up when Manchester United came to Bermuda to play.
Right.
They didn't see video of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas one of the contracts that they'll leave picked up the last couple of years was through a game playing in the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
So things have changed, but once again, if we're showing bad images,
yes, yeah.
So this is where I'm saying before we start jumping into something that's gonna be costly up front because of the fact that none of our fields infrastructure
currently are equipped for that.
So it's going to take some investment, right?
Right.
If you're looking to get the investment back, there's going to have
right away.
It's not going to be right away. So no, we really have to protect the product that goes out.
Yes.
And that's where we can't wait to we're already doing it, and then we're going to tell guys, behave yourself.
Yeah.
And that's every sport. And like I said, I don't want to single out but I just know we're in those seasons now. But that's any sport, right? And these are things now, they say, you're in the news cycle could only last, basically don't even last 24 hours now, right?
Right.
But you can reach so many places within 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Than it did before, right?
Yeah.
So Interesting. Like I said, with these events coming up, I'm really tell me something. I mean, yeah, man, with your finger on the pulse. I know you try not to be biased in a sense, well, only when it comes to cup match. But what event this year that's really got you excited about that has already been going, or something that's on the rise? And what is something that is really perking your interest? Rather be international athletes going to
youth Commonwealth Games in Trinidad.
Why is that?
Well, it's an opportunity for our young people to see where they are against their peers in the Caribbean, not just in track and field. Mm-hmm. Because we have a lot of individual talented athletes in multiple sports. Mm-hmm. And I just want to see where our athletes match up with them at this age, and then the projection of where they will be in another 4 years' time when they either go into the regular Commonwealth or still have the opportunity to compete in the Youth Commonwealth game.
Mm. And when is that taking place?
That is July.
Actually, ain't that like just before cup match too?
Just before cup match.
It's a lot of South Carolina around cup match.
Oh boy!
So I think we've got a couple of football games around that time too.
Around that time as well. Yep. Yeah.
That's that. So you, like I said, it comes full circle. Mm-hmm. I'm glad when they spaced that we are now. Man, I missed them. I missed this.
Yeah.
The conversation we had a couple of years ago around this time was like, this is we was watching marbles race, remember?
Well, yeah. See how far the marble rode on the hill.
Yeah. People playing it. I mean, hold on. It's a league of people. It's called it. It's called a world tag championship. What? But that's where we are. But no, it's. I love the vibe, like I said, and you really I'm really looking forward to Bermuda Day, because even people just walk out of the house and get to the roadside, right?
Right.
And certain places coming out of the east. I know all the places coming out of the west. I don't know all the places coming out of the east, but it's gonna be certain places where it's gonna be a lot louder than it normally is, right?
So, definitely, without a doubt.
So, and the way the route is, it doesn't incorporate Crow Lane, which is normally a real loud spot.
Right. So they come down Lane Hill.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're probably
so that Crow Lane group move up to Lane Hill. It'll just be as noisy.
I don't know if there's enough room to, but then again, like, it's amazing. Like you said, people putting that tape down now, so who knows? Like,
boy. All right, brother. Well, you have a good night.
Folks, hopefully Minister comes on, because one quick thing. Hopefully Minister comes on, because I did want to touch a little bit on that the press release today. And remember, this is all coming from what the government had committed in the 5-year sports policy plan, right? So something that was in there. For me, I like to hear these words, but until I hear figures,
yes,
right? And what that support looks like, and it probably varies in every sport,
right?
And then also what we do with the team.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wanted to question the wording in that Bermudian athletes. It's either one or the other. Can't be.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's something that we're going to have to. That's going to be a whole nother conversation, because, as we know, in not only our major sports, but on our other sports, we're going to have some people who
crossover.
Yeah.
Talented in more than just one sport. Well,
it'd be interesting.
Well, we'll see if we can get him. We'll see if we can get him next week, Wednesday, or if not before, just to make sure that everybody understands what the mission is for this particular announcement.
Cool.
All right. Have a good night, boss.
Take
Folks,
care,
we'll be back next week with another edition of the IslandStats.com Sports Show.
See you backyard cricket.
Yeah.